Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. I actually gave this some thought, and I think this will be the best option for the Saturday night lectures. Because the crowd here, mashallah, doesn't have much patience. So in the masjid, of course, we give a whole 45-minute to an hour-long lecture with the questions and everything, and we're doing something. But on Saturday night lectures, I'm not going to go beyond half an hour. Right? So whatever we discuss, 30 minutes is maximum, inshallah. So that would be a little bit easier for the sisters, inshallah, to keep quiet for just 30 minutes. Right? All right, so inshallah ta'ala, today we're going to briefly look at a hadith that's, the message of it is extremely important, and the Prophet ﷺ gave a great reminder through this hadith, and it's narrated by Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, and it's collected in the Musnad of Imam Ahmed. The Prophet ﷺ said, اغتنم خمسا قبل خمس. Take hold of or take advantage of 5 things before 5 other things. شبابك قبل هرمك. Take advantage of your youth before you become old. وصحتك قبل سقمك. Take advantage of your health before you become sick. وغناك قبل فقرك. And take advantage of your wealth before you're struck by poverty. وَفَرَاغَكَ قَبْلَ شُغُلِكَ. And take advantage of your free time before you get busy. And the 5th thing he said, وَحَيَاتَكَ قَبْلَ مَوْتِكَ. And take advantage of your life before death. So these 5 things that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, that take advantage of these 5 things before the 5 opposite of those things, this is something extremely important for us, that we have to learn how to balance our life from the get-go. That the moment our sons and daughters reach puberty, they have to be trained in how to balance their lives as Muslims, how to balance the dunya life along with the akhirah life, right? And also as adults, that many times we take advantage of these things and we don't realize how, like as the saying goes, you don't truly recognize a blessing until it's actually gone. Right? By that time it's too late. A Muslim is not supposed to be that way. When Allah blesses you with something, immediately you're supposed to recognize that blessing, make shukr to Allah, and be persistent in a way that that blessing is not lost. Right? So the Prophet ﷺ, he started by saying that اغتنم خمسا قبل خمس. Take advantage of 5 things before 5 other things. And اغتنم, it comes from the same root in Arabic as ghanam. Ghanam means sheep. Okay? And also it's referred to when there's a war between Darul Islam and Darul Kufr, the war booty that the Muslim armies gain, that's also ghanam. That these are the things that you benefit from, and this is in your possessions. Right? So this is in a way that, let's say when the Prophet ﷺ was talking to the Sahaba, this is something, he wanted to describe this in a language that they would understand. Like for the shepherd, the most valuable thing to him are the sheep. When you're making jihad fi sabilillah, and the reward that Allah gives, of course, hereafter is different, but even in dunya terms, when an army is victorious over their enemies, this is a great victory, right? And whatever they gain from that war, this is something seen as very, very valuable. So, اغتنم خمسا قبل خمس. Just like that, like how that shepherd values his sheep. That's all his wealth is based on. His whole life is based on that, that job or those properties. So just like that, as an everyday Muslim, you should recognize that these 5 things are all that you have. There's nothing else in life that you're going to have. So truly take advantage of these 5 things, because these are the greatest blessings that any human being can have from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So grasp it, and also you look at the other meaning, that when people acquire the sheep, the shepherds get their sheep, or when the army wins over another army, the war booty that comes with it, this is very easy. The hardship was actually the fight. What follows is easy. Or the shepherds, how they acquire their sheep, very easy. So this is the other thing, that even though these are the prized possessions of your life, it is very easy to obtain them without much effort. You actually don't have to do anything. Allah just gives these 5 things to you. But how you deal with them is what you will be judged upon. So the Prophet ﷺ, the first thing he said, "Shababaka qabla haramik," that take advantage of your youth, your young age, before you grow old. And this is something that we repeat over and over again to our young people, that the age that you have in your teen years, late teens, 16, 17, 18 years old, in your early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, early 30s, whatever age group you may be in, these are all defined as youth. All this is youth. You don't really become old until maybe you're 45 plus. So that period of 15, 20 years that Allah gives you, what do you do with your life? This is very, very important, that take advantage of your youth before you grow old. And if you look around, let's say the brothers and sisters who are of that age group sitting here, and there's quite a few, look at the amount of energy that you have compared to your father and mother. Right? Maybe, let's say, you might be driving around, running around, playing this, that, and you're still full of energy. And your dad may complain that his back hurts just by driving back and forth from the grocery store. Right? So this is the reality of Bani Adam, that the older you get, the weaker you become. The older you get, the less productive you become. And this is why you look at, from the biography of the Prophet ﷺ himself, the legwork, a lot of the legwork that was done were by the younger Sahaba. And from the younger Sahaba there were also scholars, right? Because this is something that is not found within Islam. Many times, culturally speaking, different people from different parts of the world, they have different cultures. And sometimes certain cultures are so strict, it's like they don't allow younger people to take any type of charge in anything. But that's not from Islam. And the Prophet ﷺ himself proved it in his own actions, right? Giving younger people so much responsibilities, right? Let's say, suppose Osama bin Zayd radiallahu anhu, he was a general of the entire army at the age of 16, right? Be honest with yourself. Of course, we don't have those type of 16-year-olds, not many of them, but still, depending on where they're from, it varies, the maturity. Take a 16-year-old from America, compare him with a 16-year-old who lives in the village in Bangladesh, or is a 16-year-old in Yemen, might be actually a father of 2 or 3 kids by that age. That's just how the Yemeni culture works. Alhamdulillah. Or any other, African country or Arab country. The 16-year-old from there, from these eastern lands, are far more mature than your sons are growing up in this spoiled culture. This is the reality of life. And this is not the kid's fault, it's the parent's fault, because this is how he was raised or she was raised. Right? Think of yourselves. Right? Like even I tell sometimes my kids, my grandmother got married when she was 13. This was just the way it was. She still, alhamdulillah, Allah yarhamha, she passed away a few years ago, but she still had a master's degree and this and that, taught people. Nothing stopped her. But this was the norm of the people back then. They were mature, much faster. The moment you reach puberty, Society knew that you're an adult. But because we are spoiled by the Western way of thinking, even when our sons or daughters are like 21, 25 years old, no, he's still a baby. No, subhanAllah, this is a grown man. If he was to die today, he will be judged either with Jannah or Jahannam. Your sons and daughters who are 14 years old, if they die tonight, they will be judged either with Jannah or Jahannam. Because once you reach puberty, to Allah, you're an adult. There is nothing called this adolescent phase, that you have children, then you got teenagers, then you got adults, right? This is a concept that is foreign to Islam. In Islam, you either have children or you have adults. That's it. There's nothing in between. So this is something that, as fathers and mothers, you have to work very hard to train your kids, that once they reach puberty, they are treated like a man and treated like a woman. They're no longer those babies of the house. You have to take advantage of your young age before you grow old. Because if you're constantly telling them, oh, you're still a kid, even though he's 20 or she's 20, I mean, that is the prime of life. That is the age where a human being can be the most productive, especially a Muslim. He or she has a lot to offer in terms of Islam, in terms of benefiting the community, in terms of benefiting himself or herself, right? So this is something that we have to understand. And it was always, even from the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he encouraged the young people to get married. This is from Islam, right? And throughout history, Muslims used to get married at an early age. Because the sooner you get married, you learn how to be responsible. Like, let's suppose, a 16, 17-year-old young Muslim male, if you were to get him married, he is forced to learn how to take care of another human being. He can learn that leadership role. He gets that training. He has to take responsibility of life, right? Or if, a young Muslim sister, 18, 19 years old, is married, becomes a mother, whatever may be the case, she learns responsibility. She is able to focus and knows that there is a whole generation that is coming through her by Allah's will. That you are in charge of the future generation, right? So these things, it comes with training in the house. And it's from Islam that our children are supposed to be trained from an early age. The moment they reach puberty, start treating them like men and women. Look at Umar radiallahu anhu. He is Umar, we know his knowledge, we know his level of Iman. Still, if there was some discussions going on, he'd call his son Abdullah. And now, of course, Abdullah ibn Umar was an alim in his own right. We know that. But how did he become that scholar? Because he had a father like Umar. And you look at the Sahaba, like Abdullah ibn Abbas. When the Prophet ﷺ died, he was either 12 or 13 years old. Can you imagine? A 12-year-old kid, this is what we would think. But he was the one giving tafsir of the Quran. If Abu Bakr, as a Khalifa, wanted to understand the meaning of an ayah, he would come to Abdullah ibn Abbas, who was only 12 years old, because he is the one who had the most knowledge of the Quran. Right? Or Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he was like 15, 16 years old. Look at the Prophet's own wife, our mother, Aisha radiallahu anha. When the Prophet died, she was about 17 or 18 years old. But no man after her will reach the level of knowledge that she had. And the impact that she had for the ummah, right? Till the day of judgment. So these are things that the Prophet ﷺ, from his own life, he taught the ummah. That your sons and daughters, once they reach puberty, they are men and women. So train them, right? Train them so they can be productive. This is the age where they have the most strength, they have most energy, they have the greatest minds and ideas. Like, look how fast time changes. Compare 2019 to 2009. Just this 10 years, you feel like as if you're a grandpa, even though you're maybe 30 years old. Because times are changing so fast, right? And you have to keep up with things in a halal way. So who is going to understand these changing times better than good Muslim youth who know their religion, who know what's going on in the society around them and who can protect their own Islam and help others of that generation also protect their Islam bi'idhnillah, right? Like, look what happens to a lot of the parents. You don't even know how to use Twitter or Snapchat or Instagram or anything. That's just not the time that you're from. But these are the things that your sons and daughters are using either in a good way or to become corrupt. Because social media is the #1 source of corruption. Or it can also be a means for you to spread the message of Islam. It depends on how your sons and daughters are using these things, right? So this is something very important that you have to sincerely think about. Also, the Sahaba, they used to discuss family affairs with their children as long as they were above the age of puberty. Like, let's say, if you're going to move, you got a job somewhere, you're going to move from here, go somewhere, I don't know, maybe you want to go to Texas or something. Your son who's 15 years old, your daughter who's 15 years old, they have the right from Allah to give some input regarding this big move. And as a father and mother, you have to discuss this. That son, daughter, I'm planning on leaving this town. We want to go to such and such place. What are your thoughts? What are your hopes? What are your fears? You have to take into consideration the opinions of your sons and daughters. Well, feelings, right? Their fears. That's what makes a good leader. The father is the leader of the home. You can't assume that, he's 16, I don't care what he has to say. Because if Muslim families think this way, they're going to behave the same way publicly when it comes to each other in a community. He's insignificant, I don't care what opinion he has. But the Prophet ﷺ never did this. He would ask every single individual, what is it that they want in terms of improvement and this and that. Of course, if they asked for something that was a contradiction to the Sharia, that's a different thing. We don't listen to that. But if it's something within the folds of Islam, this is what makes good leaders, that they listen to the future generation. They cater to the future generation because they are the ones who are going to, inshallah, grow up and carry this message of Islam. So it's very important that the youth understand this, that this age, that every day that goes by, you will never get that day back. That's the reality of life, right? Every day gone is a day gone. It's dead. You will never get that day back. So be productive in this age while you still have that energy and the abilities. Then the Prophet ﷺ said that وَصِحَّتَكَ قَبْلَ سَقَمِكَ, and take advantage of your good health before you become sick. Like, think about it, and this is for everybody. Just a simple flu, what happens to us? If we get struck by the flu, we can't even lift up our heads, we have headaches, we can't concentrate in salah, we can't even understand where we're driving, we have to stay home, we can't do simple work of the dunya. Something like flu, right? Now imagine those who have more severe diseases. So when you have health, this is a great blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. While you're healthy, take full advantage of your health. You have energy, you have health, you have strength. So do the best of the things. Because we're human beings. Eventually, we will get sick. There's not a single person in this world who can say, I'm 50 years old and I've never been sick in my life. It's impossible, right? So Allah will give us sickness, and He tests us with sickness at times of ease and times of hardship. So when you have good health, take advantage of that. The Prophet ﷺ in another hadith in Bukhari, he mentioned that نِعْمَتَانِ مَغْبُوبٌ فِيهِمَا كَثِيرٌ مِنَ النَّاسِ الصِّحَّةُ وَالْفَرَاغُ. There's two blessings that many people lose. They lose this, even though it's very simple. It's right under the tip of their nose. But they don't recognize it and they lose it. What are those two blessings? Health and free time. So when you have free time, this is your opportunity that you can read Quran, right? Understand the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of course, use it for some halal entertainment too, because no one's going to study 24/7. We know that. But too much time is wasted, right? Again, So many people. And this is not just the young people, even adults. You'll find adults, fathers and mothers, wasting hours every day on Facebook, YouTube, and this and that. What did you do today? I don't know, I was just chatting with somebody who lives, I've never seen her or whatever it is, but we were just talking about how miserable our lives are in the house. This is what people do. They waste their time doing absolutely nothing, or watching things that are not going to benefit them at all, right? So you have to be mindful. Of course, you need recreation. You need a break. That's all fine, but you have to have that balance. You don't need to watch, I don't know, 5-6 hours of vines on YouTube, right? Funny vines, and this is just going to kill your heart and destroy your life. What are you going to do, right? Or you find a lot of our young brothers maybe gaming for 4 or 5 hours a day. That's way too much. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your day. Play some games, no problem, but you have to have a balance. There has to be a time limit, right? Then the Prophet ﷺ mentioned or said, وَغِنَاكَ قَبْلَ فَقْرِكَ, and take advantage of your wealth before you become poor. And this is something important, that let's say the masjid needs funds. Today you have the ability to give $10. Don't think, it's okay, I'll wait for next week. Next week you may not even be able to give $1. So when you have that money, give it right away. When the call to sadaqah comes, give it immediately when you have it. Don't delay it, because you don't know the future. Allah gives and Allah takes. So this is why the Prophet ﷺ said, take advantage of your wealth before you are struck by poverty. Maybe your family may have a need in the future, and you won't be able to donate fi sabilillah, right? So you don't know what the future holds. If you have money today, you see that there's a call for sadaqah, give it. Don't let shaitan deceive you into thinking, I'll wait a few more days, I'll wait for next week, or whatever may be the case, right? A lot of times people have that thinking, especially those who do business. No, I just need this few $1,000s now. I got a big deal coming up, right? Next, in a couple of weeks, I'll make more money and then I can triple the sadaqah. You don't know. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows if you'll have a profit or loss in that specific deal that's coming up in a few weeks' time. Right now, you have the ability to give something, so give it. And Allah will put barakah. Because of that, you may actually have the success, right? So this is something that people don't understand. That when you give wealth fi sabilillah, you don't lose anything. Allah multiplies it and returns it to you. In the dunya, as of course in the akhirah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He told us that Bani Adam, we're all about mutual hoarding and boasting. That alhaakumut takathur, right? That it's all about mutual rivalry. Who has acquired more? The fancier cars, the bigger homes, the more money. That's all that they do. Competition, right? And this is what you hear. Somebody may say, yes, my son became a doctor at such and such hospital, and his salary is this and that. Another guy will say, well, my son works at a better hospital, and he gets paid $10,000 more, right? So people do this. People actually compete with one another over the salaries of their children or their own salaries, and this is what they do. Just like Allah said in the Quran, that most of mankind, they're competing with each other in terms of dunya, in terms of money, and it does not benefit them. This does not benefit them whatsoever. Look at the Sahaba, look at the example of Abu Bakr and Umar radiallahu anhu. When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was explaining the benefits of the sadaqah, there was a call, Allah revealed these ayat. Umar radiallahu anhu decided that I'm going to give half of my wealth fi sabilillah. Half of it is for me and my family, and the other half I give it completely for in Allah's path. Then Abu Bakr, subhanallah, he got up and told the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, take everything that I have. I don't have to meet Allah with anything, right? Because I'm not going to take this to my graves. And Abu Bakr gave everything away. whatever, whatever was for his inheritance for his children, that's different. But other than that, everything that he had, he gave it away fi sabilillah. So the Sahaba used to compete with one another in terms of the akhirah. Who can gain more reward from Allah? Right? They weren't envious. The problem is what happens with people nowadays, even if they're doing religious work, this is not the competition that the Sahaba had. This is actually the hasad that the Prophet warned against, right? That, oh no, that person is doing this, I'm not going to let him do it, I have to do it. This is the wrong way of thinking. Rather, you can think like something simple. Let's say the first one who comes and opens the masjid when there's programs. Inshallah ta'ala, this person will have great reward that he came, he's the one who opened the door for everybody else to come in, right? Now if someone wants to compete in the sense that I want to get that reward as well, that's fine. But if someone is thinking, man, people are looking at him, I have to destroy him, may his leg break, this, that, right? That's not the praiseworthy competition. That's the destructive jealousy, and those are the attributes of the hasidun, people of hasad, right? Or somebody might think, I can't do something, I'm not going to let someone else do it, I'll sabotage everything for them. That is a major sin. This is not the competition that the Sahaba had. This earns the curse of Allah, not the reward. Right? Sometimes you can do something, sometimes you can't. But you have to cooperate with one another. And this is what the Sahaba used to do. Right? Whoever was able to do whatever, they had that cooperation. If someone else did it, okay, they knew that this was the qadr of Allah. It was written for him and not written for me. Even though the Prophet ﷺ, he said this clearly, Allah will still reward you for the niyyah that you had. Why don't you think of that? Maybe you had the intention of cleaning the center after everybody left. You showed up a little late by the qadr of Allah, right? But you had that sincere intention. And you came here and you found out that it's already clean. If you truly were sincere, Allah will still give you that reward even though you didn't do the action. That's the beauty and perfection of Allah. So there is absolutely no reason for anyone to ever become envious of another Muslim. If you really have that sincere intention, even though you did not succeed in it, because Allah prevented you, Allah will still give you the reward. You got it. Don't worry about it. So it's about the sincerity. So take advantage of that wealth or whatever. Wealth is not just money. Wealth is your ability. You have a skill that will benefit the Muslim community. Right? So while you still have that skill, while you still have that ability, put it forth before a time comes when that skill and ability, you have lost it. And you can't give. Right? And also the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith in Tirmidhi, that يقول ابن Adam, the son of Adam, he says, Mali, Mali, my wealth, my wealth. وَهَلْ لَكَ مِنْ مَالِكَ إِلَّا مَا تَصَدَّقْتَ فَأَمْضَيْتَ. Even though he has nothing from his wealth except for the portion that he used to give as sadaqah. That the son of Adam, he cries, my wealth, my wealth. But this is not your wealth. Allah is a Razzaq, He gave you the rizq. It doesn't belong to you. The only thing that truly is your wealth is the wealth that you give as sadaqah. That's what you will see after you pass away. That's what's going to benefit you in your grave and inshallah ta'ala on Yawm al-Qiyamah. That's the true wealth that you really have. The one that you actually give back in Allah's path. Just like He gave you, you give it back in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, وَفَرَاغَكَ قَبْلَ شُغُلِكَ. Your free time before you get busy. And we mentioned this already. The Prophet ﷺ said the two blessings that most people, they lose is good health and free time. So before you become busy, let's say today you have a few hours. You want to keep, let's say you got 4 hours of free time today. 2 hours, you want to do something, relax, chill out, you work 5 days, no problem. The other 2 hours, you have absolutely nothing to do. Go see what the masjid needs. Go see what your local Muslims need. Right? Maybe there's an old elderly Muslim man. He has no children, no grandchildren to help him. Go ask him, do you need me to drive you to the grocery or bring it for you? No problem. Simple things, right? Or go check what the masjid needs. Maybe the wall needs to be painted. Whatever may be the case. And you have some skills. It's not too hard to do these type of things. You got a couple of hours, go ahead and do it. Earn the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Before you become busy where you will not be able to do things fi sabilillah. Because we all have lives, we all have families, we have children. Today we're free, tomorrow we're going to be busy, right? We're always running around with something. And if you have children, sometime you'll have to take them to the doctor for this school issue, for this issue, that issue. You're always running around. So any free time you get, relax, no problem. Allah has given you the right to take a break. Your body needs rest. This is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ in Sahih al-Bukhari, that your body has rights over you. So don't do dhulm to your own body, right? If you see that different people are different. Some people, they need to get their whole 8 hours of sleep. Otherwise, their whole day is ruined. Khalas, Allah made you this way, no problem. Some people are fine with sleeping 4 or 5 hours, even though in the long run, eventually it'll catch up with them. But for whatever period, alhamdulillah, they're able to, by Allah's rahmah, able to cover up, even with less sleep. Whatever your case is, schedule it. Schedule around so that you can do things for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because, like as I was mentioning even in the khutbah yesterday, that especially living in these non-Muslim lands, we have a huge, huge responsibility. You can't just fall asleep in your own room and think Allah's not going to ask me or anything or question me. We all have a huge responsibility, right? There's absolutely no one raising the banner of La ilaha illallah, explaining the message of Islam in these countries except for the Muslims. So there is no way we can fall asleep or take a break. You need some recreation, you need some time. This is from the religion. Spend some time with your wife and children. Do some things, activities to bring ease to your heart. This is part of the sunnah. Do it. But still, every week someone, no matter if you're a student, you work, a full-time job, full-time student, whatever may be the case, I'm sure if you truly know how to schedule your life, you'll at least be able to give 4 to 5 hours for the community. Everyone can do it. This is not an issue. So now imagine if 50 men and women have 4 to 5 hours to give to the community, what else do you need? Absolutely nothing. And they schedule around. Monday I can come for an hour. Tuesday I can do half an hour. Wednesday I can do this, I can do that. That as a community, being productive, you schedule with one another, right? And this is how you get things done. It's a task for everybody, not just a few people, right? So take advantage of your free time before you become busy. An advantage of the free time meaning do good deeds. Use that free time to do righteous deeds. Let's say for the sisters, if her husband is out at work, the kids are at school, pretty much you got nothing to do. If you're a housewife, meaning, you have not much to do except for a little bit of cleaning and this and that. Sometimes it's a lot, some days it's a lot, some days it's not a lot, right? Some days you don't even have to cook because there's still nice leftovers from the day before. So those are the days that you're free. Make adhkar while you're sitting in the house. Read some Quran, listen to a lecture. Or go see if whatever somebody needs from the community. If there's women who need some help, that day you have free time. Get together, organize something to help some elderly women out or some other things, whatever may be the case, right? Anything that you can think of. Or maybe there's elderly women who can't speak English and you're good in Bengali and English or Urdu and English. That lady needs to go somewhere. Okay, you got some free time. Do it for the sake of Allah. Even simple things like this, Allah rewards you for it. You have to be a wise Muslim. Look for opportunities any and everywhere where you can implement some type of sadaqah work. That's the wise Muslim who will, inshallah ta'ala, be rewarded heavily after death. Then the last thing the Prophet ﷺ said, وَحَيَاتَكَ قَبْلَ مَوْتِكَ. Take advantage of your life in general before you are dead. Because once you die, there's absolutely nothing you can take with you except your righteous deeds. Nothing. And you have lost that time. And of course, once we die, we cannot come back. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, that حَتَّى إِذَا جَاءَ أَحَدَهُمُ الْمَوْتُ قَبْلَ رَبِّ ارْجِعُونَ, until when death comes to one of you, and then that person says, oh, my Lord, return me back. Give me another chance. But of course, that time is over. You only get one chance. Allah has not returned anyone, right? If He would have returned anyone, it would have been the prophets and messengers, because they are the most beneficial of human beings. But Allah didn't even return His prophets or messengers after He took their life. So there's no way anyone else will ever be returned. لَعَلِّي أَعْمَالُ صَالِحًا فِي مَا تَرَكْتُ. And this is what they're giving the excuse, that return me back so that I may be able to do good in that which I have left behind. Now he realizes that I lost that time, because now he sees the reality of what happens after death. Send me back so I can do good. I left that path behind. Right? كَلَّا. But Allah replies, no. إِنَّهَا كَلِمَةٌ هُوَ قَائِلُهَا وَمِنْ وَرَائِهِمْ بَرْزَخٌ إِلَى يَوْمِ يُبْعَثُونَ. This is just a statement. Because if you truly were sincere, you would have done it the first time around. Allah has given you enough verses, enough evidence that there is a life after death. You don't need to die and then see it and then say, give me another life or something like that. No, you had enough time. This is just a statement that you're making, and this is the statement that people speak behind the barzakh, which is the life in the grave, until the day that they will be resurrected, meaning the day of judgment. So Allah makes it very clear, we only live once, and you have to make the best of it. So this is what the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, that these are the 5 things that every person possesses, and these are the most valuable possessions that we have. So take advantage of these 5 things while you still have them, and be the best or most productive Muslim that you can be while you have these things in possession. Any questions, inshallah? Brothers and of course the sisters, as usual, pass it. No questions? Yeah. Let me just check. Maybe I'll give a couple of minutes if I see them writing something. Well, the questions from the sisters come in the meantime. Anything? Yeah, brother.
Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he was a ruler. He had 9 wives, and he was a general as well. So in each and every way of life, he
led by example.
Led by example, and also he just tried to show us how to lead the life by example. At least in our own capacity, like being a father or raising our children, and how we should follow him in a how schedule in the way how the Prophet scheduled his life. At least if we can follow him.
Yeah. So as the brother reminded, of course, this is the reality of our Prophet. Even though he had a total of 11 wives, but at one time he had 9 wives. Right? Then, of course, so that's family life that he had to take care of. Then he was also, being the leader of the army. He was in charge of explaining the religion to everybody. He was in charge of counseling people with their problems. So, but he did all of this in a very balanced manner. And that is the beauty of the sunnah. That if you actually follow the sunnah, you schedule your life, that there's a time and place for everything. Right? There's a time for play and a time to be serious. That's something that we have to understand. And the greatest example about the importance of scheduling is our 5 salawat. You look how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given appointed times for the salah. For each salah there's an allotted time. And you have to pray throughout the day. No matter what you're doing, you take a break, you pray. Your schedule has to revolve around salah. Many people make the mistake, salah will revolve around my schedule. No, right? That's completely wrong. Your life has to revolve around the time of salah. That no matter what you're doing, when it's time to pray, you gotta go pray. So that's the number one act that shows us from Allah your life has to have a schedule. And the schedule has to be made around acts of worship, not your own desires. So if someone is able to balance his life, make Islam his priority, then Allah will put that barakah in his time. Right? Like for example, even from the scholars, like for example, Imam Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullah, he has a very famous series on the seerah and fiqh issues called Zad al-Ma'ad. Right? It's one of the things that we have studied. It's 25 volumes. Right? 25 volumes. But he wrote all of this in a trip from Medina to Damascus. Going or coming back, I forgot at this moment. But the trip was between Medina and Damascus. That's it. 25 volumes of books he wrote in one journey. Because Allah is the owner of time. He is the one who will put the barakah in your time as well. He's the one who owns it. Right? So you have to have that sincerity. You have to have that willingness and see from the sunnah what and how the Prophet ﷺ used to do things. And then you'll be able to balance out as well, inshallah. Yeah. Well, if you take a horse carriage, but still, I mean, it's nowhere near of completing 25 volumes, right? So it's barakah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used to give to those who are sincere. Right? Even till now. Sometimes we might see certain people in the community, Allahumma barik lahum, you sometimes get amazed. How is he or she doing this? Right? It's the same human being just like me. It's the willingness. Yes, you're excused. Okay. All right. Jazakallah. So it's from Allah. Right? This happens, and whenever you see men and women like that in your community, make dua that Allah keeps giving them. Like in every community, you'll find people that even though they might have busy lives, whatever it is, but they're able to show up everywhere, do something, you find them, and it's amazing. But that is from Allah. It's not from them. It is purely from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You just have to keep up at it. And day by day, inshallah, things will become easier and better. What do you do when fellow Muslims who are at one point religious, they go astray? First of all, you have to find out if something has happened in their life which is causing them to, go astray. Maybe some traumatic situation happened that psychologically affected the person. Maybe something happened in the community that they're from that kind of just killed their enthusiasm. Or maybe he read something that confused him that he doesn't understand, or heard something, or some other fitna in his... What I'm trying to say is there's a fitna. Either in some way, shape or form, there is a fitna in their life that has caused them to turn away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So with that type of person, you have to sit down and talk with the person. Try to help that person. That whatever problem that you're going through, whatever issue that has occurred, Islam has a solution for you. So you peacefully take that time, sit with your fellow brother or sister, and you work with that person. Right? Because we should not be happy at the sight of any Muslim becoming an irreligious Muslim. This is not good for us. Right? Even if you hate someone, this is not something we should be happy about. Rather, we should feel pity and sad, because we all want to go to Jannah. So if you see your fellow brother doing something very wrong that goes against Islam, it's as if he has really left the straight path or something, whatever may be going on, you have to sit with that person, try and find out. And if it's something that's beyond your capacity, sit that person down with the right qualified person. Right? Because sometimes you can do more harm than good. Maybe the person's problem is beyond your capacity to understand, or it's beyond your limited knowledge. You can't really explain things from an Islamic perspective. You don't have that knowledge. You'll end up doing more harm than good. But at least find out, talk with the person what's going on. Then take the proper steps, inshallah ta'ala. Is witr prayer mandatory to read, to do? I know this is it's a language barrier because in Bengali and Urdu you say, I have read Salah, right? I read the namaz. You don't read the namaz, you do it, right? So this is just a language issue. But the thing is, so the Salah, whatever is fard, is your 5 salawat. That's it. So the 2 rak'atayn at Fajr, 4 at Dhuhr, 4 at Asr, 3 at Maghrib, 4 at Isha. This is it. This is all that is fard. Every other salah is a sunnah, right? And the witr is the best prayer after the obligatory prayers. Witr / tahajjud / qiyamul layl / salatul layl. The same prayer with 4 names. Okay? So this is the absolute best sunnah prayer that you can do. That is basically second to the fard prayers. So, but it's not an obligation. A lot of people have this confusion that sometimes I get asked that if I don't have time, can I just pray the 4 rak'ah of dhuhr and without the sunnah and this and that I have work. That is what is fard for you. That's it. The 4 rak'at of dhuhr, 4 rak'at of asr, 3 of maghrib and 4 at isha. If something is happening around you, you have a class starting up, you got to go back to work, something is there, that's fine. What is an obligation is that you fulfill those fard rak'at. That's the mandatory, and it's kufr to leave them, right? The sunnah salawat is not an obligation. So this is the difference. So even for the witr prayer, it's not fard, it's not an obligation. But it is the second best prayer after the fard prayers, inshallah. Can you please send reminders for when the girls' youth group will happen, like through text? Oh, the youth group issues, I always announce it at Jummah every Friday, since it happens on Friday. So every week I give the announcement to remind. But inshallah, this actually reminds me. We're trying to form a WhatsApp group for just the MCOSJ youth. So if that's something you're interested in, we can give me the numbers, inshallah. The girls will have their own WhatsApp group supervised by my wife, and I'll take care of the boys, inshallah. This way we can keep up communication throughout the week as well. If something, you need a piece of advice, or you need you got some questions, whatever may be the case, we can form a youth group, a youth WhatsApp group, right? Everybody pretty much has smartphones and uses WhatsApp, so we can, inshallah ta'ala, make a WhatsApp group. This way you'll be more aware of any announcement. But yeah.
Question back to the sunnah prayers. So if a brother has time all the time, and he doesn't.
No,
I don't want to pray the first. That's first. Is that really acceptable?
No, that's acceptable. Okay. Like for example, this is a hadith in Bukhari. A Bedouin came to the Prophet ﷺ. He said that if I do only the acts that are fard on me, not one extra deed, and I stay away from everything that Allah has made haram, will I go to Jannah? And the Prophet ﷺ said, of course. But there's a key here. I only do the obligatory things, absolutely nothing extra, but I also stay away from everything that is haram. Right? So the sunnah prayers are there as a means for you to earn forgiveness. Like for example, the hadith in At-Tirmidhi, the Prophet ﷺ said, if you pray the Sunan al-Rawatib, which is the 12 raka'at attached to the fard prayers, right? 12 how? You have 2 before Fajr. You have 4 before Dhuhr, 2 after Dhuhr. You have 2 after Maghrib, and you have 2 after Isha. These are the 12 Sunan al-Rawatib, the attached sunnah prayers or raka'at with the fard. The one who continuously prays these 12 raka'at throughout the day, Allah will build for him a special house in Jannah, just because he used to pray this regularly. That's one option. Second option, as the Prophet ﷺ said, on the day of judgment when Allah is judging his salah. Of course, very few Muslims today have probably been praying every single day since the time they reached puberty. It's sad, but that's the reality. But if someone prays his sunan al-rawatib regularly, then for this person, Allah will balance out whatever fard prayers he had or she had missed in early on in his life or her life. So there is an advantage. Either you get a special house just for yourself for praying those 12 rak'at regularly, or inshallah ta'ala those 12 rak'at that you pray regularly will be used to balance out your scale of salah on the Day of Judgment. So either way, of course, if you have the time, it is better for you. It is mustahab. It is recommended. You get more reward, right? But the point is in correcting the understanding, because many people have the wrong understanding. They think that dhuhr means to pray 4 plus 4, 8, and that 10 rak'at is dhuhr prayer. This is wrong. Dhuhr is 4 rak'at, right? So as long as you understand the thing properly, that's fine. All right, any other question? No? Alhamdulillah. All right.